1. We're now halfway through the course, or thereabouts, Chapter 1, and this week, don't forget, we have an added assignment, a midterm test, which is just an extension of what we've already been doing, but so there won't be another assignment this week. There'll just be what we're going to talk about in class, so no group assignment. Chapter 7, Holistic Scope Planning. So here's how this looks as we've been doing. Here's the PMBOK guide. And here's an overview of the text. Plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, work breakdown structure. That's probably the most important part of this, work breakdown structure, making assignments. Change control, PMBOK guide, agile projects, and the summary. I'm not going to go through this whole chapter. There's a lot of slides here, but we'll give you enough to get you going. Okay, so agile projects or objectives. Remember, simplicity, emergent design, developing the scope. Flexibility is the key here. Again, the whole point of agile is just that we can make changes as required because of the nature of the project. Scope plan, scope planning flow. All right, so we got the scope plan. What are the outputs the team will deliver to its customers? How big is this? So the total scope is this product scope plus the project scope. And then the project scope is the work needed to be performed in order to deliver the project's outputs. So these are tied together. So this plan scope management, and I'll just read this quick, is the process of developing a plan that includes the total scope of what needs to be done and what is excluded from the project. Exclusion is important here. What aren't we going to get mixed up in? Where do we stop? Implementation and validation of the scope, and how to control deviations from the scope statement where we alter. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's got to be a pretty formalized process, that deviations. So here's scope planning flow. You got the charter, plan scope management, collect requirements. What's got to be done? I mean, this is really the nuts and bolts of the project, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit more depth. Ensure clarity objectives and get agreement. Stakeholder input and needs. Again, that's where this communication becomes so vital, and that you're getting everything you need. Now, I'll caution you, it's hard to always know what you need until you get into something, which is why the agile elements can be very attractive. But understand that change is inevitable, as things go along, and stakeholders might demand changes, as they go along, as they discover things. So collect requirements, describe in more depth what the expected benefits. Understand the project's objectives. What exactly are the goals here? Voice of the customer. So it's putting yourself in their shoes. If you were them, what would you want? Kind of thing. So it's being an advocate really for the customer, and that's probably never a bad idea. So common methods, meetings, interviews, focus groups, questionnaires, surveys, prototypes, industry standards, market analysis, sort of business requirements, if you will. How can this project make us more competitive? That's another way to look at it. High-level description, what do we understand about the features? What's the business reason for the feature? So this is gathering input. Why do we want to do it? And sometimes features are called use cases. How will it be used? I know that's a common term in software development. What action items need to be accomplished if we do this? And what impact will this have on on other features of the project or elsewhere? That's something that can be easily overlooked, is assuming things happen in a vacuum when they really truly don't. For example, if you change A, that might affect B, C, D, E, and F. And it might be small, it might be large, but that effect has to be accounted for. And It's sort of teased out to its end. Here's an example. Traceability matrix, who, what, when, where. Unambiguous, complete, consistent, modifiable, amenable to change. Okay, don't forget that. Can we trace it back? Can we verify it? So complete requirements we can trace back to its business reason or its use case. If you can't do that, then the question becomes, why is it in there? There's certainty, unambiguous. So again, if nothing else you should understand about project management by this time is that no stone is unturned for clarity. So reasons, ultimately we don't want to go too far with the scope because it's expensive and takes time, and time is money after all. So there has to be an end point, or it's not really a project. Then it just kind of becomes the never-ending project, or without clear definitions. Scope creep. This is this is what you want to avoid. It's sort of like if you're going to say, I'm going to paint the house, and then you end up painting the inside too, or your car and your neighbor's car, and everything else. It just grows. Not that there might not be a need for certain things, but it's just you need to limit that scope in order to manage the project effectively. And I'm going to go back one here. Customer is excited about the process and innocently asks for more. That's people get excited about they can see the potential, and then they want to enlarge it because they want to see that gain. Now, it's not to say that you should never do it, but you want to be really careful about it because it might end up costing more than it's worth. So how to define scope? We got to create a definition. Establish boundaries, establish deliverables. What should it do? How should it act? It's sort of like in a course. There's deliverables in a course. What should you be able to do after having gone through a course or read a book or anything like that? Key deliverables, acceptance criteria. So what that means is a deliverable is what should it do? Okay, the acceptance criteria, when is it complete? When can you check it off? Exclusions, constraints. What's going to keep us from moving ahead? What assumptions are there? Again, carefully define these things. Work breakdown structures. Okay, this is the one I want to probably go this far. Okay, project tool defined as a hierarchical decomposition, meaning breakdown of the project scope into deliverable work elements at the lowest level. So work breakdown structure is all the component parts that make up a whole. So you've got a pile of bolts, other fasteners, and a pile of wood. What's it supposed to look like? Is it supposed to be a bookcase, or is it supposed to be a chest of drawers, a bed? What is it? That's the hierarchical decomposition. And hierarchy implies what needs to be done first. So it's define the activity as well as the output. So this is the key one to remember. All parts are considered, adds discipline, visibility, basis for planning, resources, cost, quality, risk. It's just part of those elements. Okay, so here's in free format. There's lots of different ways to do this. Okay, I think that's probably as far as I need to go in order for you to kind of get rolling with this. Those are the main parts to be considered. So as you read again, this is no substitute for reading the chapter, but think about this carefully as you do read. Thanks.